If we go back to last year, it wasn't unusual to see Tiger Woods when he was walking around and doing his due diligence and scouting putts. He couldn't squat all the way down. In other words, he just couldn't put all of his weight and all of his pressure on his right leg. Here he is at the 2022 PGA Championship, where he did make the cut, but had to withdraw over the weekend because of pain and inflammation in that right leg. It was a similar story at the Masters, where when he was reading putts, you'd see him put a hand on his leg and sort of bend over and kind of squat. You can't get down as low as he needed to get down to properly read putts. But today and yesterday as well, when it comes to lining up putts, I think this is good news. I mean, Tiger Woods is able to put all of his weight on, his right foot, both of his feet. It tells you that his knees are working well. He's not suffering from the pain. In spite of the fact of what this says about his body, it allows him to get a little bit lower and read putts a little bit clearer. So in terms of being able to move, I would say as much as anything, this is a good omen for the rest of this year.
We've got to focus on Max Homa. Just won the Farmers Insurance Open, 6 total wins on the PGA Tour, but 4 of them in the state of California. And here he is in his home state performing well once again. What is it about the sunshine, not the Sunshine State, that's Florida. What is it about California?
Riviera is recognized as one of the greatest golf courses in the world, and most golf courses that are great seem to have some balance with right to left holes and left to right holes. But I'm going to list the holes that work left to right or ask for a fade off the tee. 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 15, 17, and 18. That's it. Almost every single tee shot out there is asking for, hinting at a fade. So when you look at Max Homa, I think there's 2 things that come to mind about why he plays so well around here. In particular, we'll go out and see him at the 13th hole, and ironically enough, this is the one hole that doesn't really work left to right. It's a draw, but he hit a beautiful tee shot down the right, and this is a right pin here, and this is a great-looking iron shot, of which he hit numerous shots today. We showed you that he holed out at the 10th, but that really got him going in the right direction. But here's the thing I want to pause at. You see that finish right there? It really does remind me of Ben Hogan. That's a famous photograph taken by Hy Peskin back in 1950. Why was Riviera called Hogan's Alley? Well, he won the 47 and 48 LA Opens there. He also won the 48 U.S. Open. That was 3 wins within 18 months, and en route to winning the U.S. Open, he shot 276, which decimated the U.S. Open record, scoring record, by 5 shots, and his record would stand until 1967, until Jack Nicklaus came along and broke his record. So it was his shot du jour was a fade, and that is pretty much what Max Homa hits. But there's another reason, because these greens are so difficult to putt, because they're small and there's a lot of slope in them, and they are Poana, and this is typical of pretty much all Seaside Links golf course. They are much more difficult to putt. The typical 4 to 8 foot tour average is right around 68%, but on this particular golf course, it drops about 7 to 5%, somewhere in there, 5 to 7%. But you can see Max Homa over the last 3 years where he's played so well here, where he's finished 5th and 1st and 10th. Last year, he made 18 of 19 from 4 to 8 feet. The year before, 10 of 12. The year before that, 8 of 10. So you add that up and get the percentage, and you see he's close to making 90% of his putts from 4 to 8 feet. So when you get up on every tee and it's comfortable and it fits your eye and it fits your shot shape and you're that good on the greens. And of course, having spent a lot of time playing golf in California and doing so well, 4 of his 6 wins coming from California, it's just safe to say that though a lot of tour pros are not particularly enamored with the idea of putting on Poana, they do it because the golf course is so spectacular. But they're not particularly enamored with it. It looks like Max Homa almost has a fondness for it. And I want you to notice how he stacked his upper body. When you say get left, a lot of people just shove their hip out there, which tilts their spine angle away. He stacked his upper body over it. But I want you to watch how he moves pressure towards the target, his backswing. This moves his low point sort of even with the middle or the front of the golf ball. So he's ensured low point's going to be good. Now watch him in transition as he elevates. What this does is give him room and his downswing and allows him to shallow it out. Now watch how he rotates his upper body with the club. Those things are linked together. That ensures no flip, no sloppiness right there. You just can't draw it up any better than that. If you have problems with your pitching or chipping, and, well, I do sometimes, put a face on video, get yours, get that one, link it up, and just try to emulate what he does. I mean, we talked about this morning, the way he strokes it. Find out what the experts do, identify what they're doing, try to figure out what you do, match them up. Any more, you can do it with the video. And, everybody out there has the potential to chip better. Not everybody out there can hit it like Rahm or Max Homa or any of these guys because they swing 120 miles an hour. But we've all got the potential to chip better. And technique really matters because there's not a lot of time to recover, and that's great technique. Look, when he left the Tournament of Champions, I think the big concern was how well he was going to rebound from that huge disappointment. But that disappointment, for the most part, hung on the fact that he chipped so poorly that week. So when you take a look at his strokes gain around the green from the Tournament of Champions through last week, you can see that even though he did, to your point, play very well at the Farmers. Matter of fact, he was first in driving, actually second in greens in regulation. He lost strokes, a half a stroke per day to the field, and still managed to finish third. And, of course, at the WM Phoenix Open, it was abysmal. He lost in 2 rounds because he missed the cut. More than 2 strokes per day to the field. And when you look at the transformation from those first 3 events to the Genesis, you say, well, what in the heck is going on? Because he certainly seems to have turned things around. It's worth, again, revisiting the shots that we've seen. And I think some of this can be explained away to, one, he's a quick study and obviously a very good student with a lot of talent. But I think to some extent, the type of grass at Riviera would mitigate whatever sort of demons you're fighting in your chipping action. It's called Kikuya, but the ball sort of has a knack of setting up when you're around the greens to some extent, which gives you a little wiggle room, a little bounce underneath the ball. Quite a bit different than the tight lies that you would have on Bermuda, or that he was facing really tight ryegrass that he was facing at the WM Phoenix Open. This is a different grass, and I always found it very easy to sort of pick iron shots off of it. It's set up almost like Zoysia, and certainly to chip, unless the ball's really setting down. But for the most part, I think Zoysia is just a little easier surface. I don't want to detract from the work that he's had around the greens, but I think just generally speaking, it's a little easier on the nerves.
You're also providing a masterclass in how to pronounce these different types of grass. Kikuya, Zoysia. Frank Nobler,
I'm still working on Poana. When you watch him swing a golf club, you think, God, why haven't we seen more of this guy? Because it is an absolute thing of beauty. Top 5 last year in strokes gained off of the tee. Top 5 this year in strokes gained off of the tee. Top 5 this week in strokes gained off of the tee. I had friends of mine texting me yesterday just about how much they really appreciated this golf swing, how much they enjoyed it. It's sort of an old school look. Even his waggle's an old school look. The free flow of it, it doesn't look like he's out there painting by numbers by any stretch of the imagination. Just a little bit closed there and all out. Okay, maybe it doesn't quite have the elegance of a Adam Scott swing, but who does? But it's absolutely beautiful to watch. Creates a lot of power, beautiful rhythm. Don't you wish you could turn your shoulders this much? And this one was really good. Look at this shot tracer, just a BB. You can get on that tee and it looks like a bowling alley. You think you can get up there and just get a little claustrophobic, a little tight, start guiding it. It's worth just taking a look at this golf swing. And like most great drivers of the golf ball throughout history, it's wide off of the ball. Really wide. Wide base, wide turn. Look at that left shoulder moving over his right foot. Look at that. Big shoulder turn, all that thoracic. He says from the top, all he tries to do is feel like the club's, quiet at the top, not even moving, and he's rotating. He feels like that drops his arms right down on his side, creates the lag, and he just turns as hard as he can. And, like Max Homa, like Jon Rahm, Keith Mitchell is a fader of the golf ball, and this is fader's paradise right here. Almost every single drive, with the exception of 13, asks you to work the ball left to right, so it sets up great for him.
You've been telling us about the iron play and other parts of his game. What do you want to focus on?
Well, he's won without his best stuff with his irons. He won Tournament of Champions, and he was almost dead last in his iron play. He won Mexico. He was 30th in strokes gained approach because he's so good everywhere else, and because he's such a dominant driver. Ordinarily, that is the weapon that gives him his dominance, but it wasn't there this week, and we'll just show you a few of them. He wasn't terrible by any stretch of the imagination. He was 28th in strokes gained off at the tee, but on a golf course that asks you to hit fades on pretty much every single par 4 or par 5, well, he had this double cross working. Certainly the case yesterday. A couple of notable examples there at the second where he got pretty lucky, and here at the 13th where he hooked it some 45 yards left of the fairway and again got very lucky. that it somehow got between the trees and that thick vegetation. He had a lie, and he eventually made par at the second as well. And again today, you know, a handful of, you know, 2-3 shots were double-crossed on him. Again, another violent hook here, and somehow, again, he finds this area between the trees and that vegetation. So he didn't win with his driver this week. He won because he had the best iron game of his career this week. Here he is in round number 1 at the 16th hole, and he's taking dead aim with the hole location over there on the right. I mean, it all but went into the hole in the second round, 14th hole. And again, as firm as these greens are, you got to have the right shot shape, but you've also got to be able to hit it miles high in the air so that you can get it coming down with a steep enough angle of descent that you can stop it on these greens. Throughout the week, I saw scores of players landing it on these greens, which looked like good shots, but they would just scurry off the back. So beautiful shot there in the second round. And here, maybe this was the best iron shot of the week. On a hole where only 15% roughly of the field managed to even find the green, Jon Rahm was making birdies. He was able to birdie it in round number 1 with a long putt of about 24 feet, but that's a great shot. Even better in round number 3, got it to 7 feet and made birdie there. And then at the 8th, maybe he was a bit fortunate here, but this one was spot on. I didn't see many balls. Excuse me, yeah, that was yesterday's round, and this was nothing fortunate about that. Everything stellar about that. I mean, he had that right on line with the right amount of spin. Remember, the average proximity of the hole there yesterday was 40 feet. Back to the 4th hole again today. And again, look where this ball lands. To get it to stay on this green, you had to land it on roughly about the first 5 feet. You know, maybe a foot or two short, or the first 5 feet of the green. So your area on a 235-yard par 3 was roughly about 7 feet wide, your landing area, to get it to stay on the green. Those are 2 of the best shots in this final group all day, and that was the best shot in the field all day. And then the 7th today, again, another stunning iron shot, and he is picking up so many strokes on the field. You think about his entire career, only one time had he ever led a PGA Tour event in strokes gained approach. That was the Northern Trust in 2021, and he didn't win. This is the shot I said where he may have got a little fortunate, because I didn't see many shots bounce through the Kikuyu and end up on the green, just right on that down slope. He probably had the perfect number for just a nuked sand wedge, and it was his iron play through the day. And again, what a way to end it here on the last par 3 of a par 3 epic week, 8 under par. There's been people win this golf tournament. Nick Faldo won here in 1997, shooting, he was 2 over par on the par 3s. There's been players 3 over par on the par 3s and managed to win this week. That's how tough the par 3s are. But again, if you take a look at it, this was the best performance of his life on the PGA Tour in strokes gained approach. Of course, the Memorial, he went on, you know, he had a 6-shot lead. He was accumulating a massive amount of strokes, and that was right in the, I would say, the sweet spot of the best golf he's ever played until this run that he's on. So there it is. I mean, you talk about reaching a higher plane, Cara. He found a higher plane here. I've been waiting for this kind of iron play out of him. I've been looking for it. It was the one thing I think missing that would take him to a level of dominance. If he can sustain this, it'll be very hard to sort of track him down and knock him out of that #1 spot in the world.